Welcome to A World Made of Cardboard. This video is going to be really different because I want to talk about something that I saw on YouTube just the other day in relation to this toy line, Final Faction. Final Faction is a toy line that debuted in 2020 and sold at the American dollar store called Dollar Tree. It is exclusively at that store. Each figure sells and item sells for $1.25. I use these figures as scales and guides when building my own paper models. On my channel from time to time I'll put up a video where I have my own personal designs where you can download them and build your own paper models. I use these figures as size scale guides to help me make these 3 3/4 inch sets. Here is a little alien pod. This was one of the first videos that I put up. Put the alien inside there. This is the M-Track. It's a motorcycle with tank treads for wheels, and it's designed pretty much to work with 3 3/4 inch figures. As a kid, I played Doctor Who with my Star Wars figures and would build toys and play sets and vehicles to go with my 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures. The Final Faction figures work quite well. Since they are 5 points of articulation, just like the original Star Wars figures, I can build paper models and paper toys to work with them, and it will still work with a multi-posable figure like the more recent Star Wars toys. So it works quite well. Final Faction also has a YouTube channel. This channel has a CGI cartoon that tells the story of Final Faction fighting the alien invasion. Final Faction also has an Instagram page with toy photos and information about the toy line created by the talent behind Final Faction. The Instagram page is just beautiful. I really love this page. There's also one other bit of media sold in the Dollar Tree stores, and that was the comic book. This comic book told the origin story of Final Faction. Its debut was February 2022. It was an interesting little read for what there was. What I found most interesting was the picture of every single Final Faction toy that was released up to this time. Basically, with all these toys, you could actually buy every single Final Faction figure and accessory and vehicle and all that for less than $75. Which is really fascinating when you consider that now buying a couple of action figures could send you up to $75. But this toy line was really directed toward kids. The comic was very little reading, just a little bit of detail. The artwork was okay. There was some information that was different between this and the cartoon, but still it was a nice little addition to the Final Faction story. But what I found interesting was a YouTube channel by the name of ComicTropes posted a video where he said that this comic book was recalled. I had to figure that out because was this true? Did this actually happen? Was this comic book recalled, and why? One reason why I really questioned this was the date that the video was released. April 1st. I was like, okay, this guy just put out a big April Fool's joke for everybody. There's no way that anybody would recall a comic book. There's only a couple of reasons why something may be recalled. If you recall a while back, the Disney property Cars had a problem with one of the toys that was released. The character Sarge, his toy had an excessive amount of lead in the paint, and the toy had to be recalled due to potential injury to a child. Another reason that something may be recalled is due to copyright issue or some other problem. Amazon was selling digital copies of Orson Welles' 1984, and something happened where I guess they couldn't, I'm not sure the whole detail of it, but they couldn't prove the copyright or they lost the ability to sell it, so they recalled all of the digital copies. It caused some problems because people were wondering, how can a person or a company take something back that I legitimately bought? Everybody, if I remember right, were refunded their money, but still, it was rather odd. The YouTube channel ComicTropes did a video not too long ago about comic books that have been recalled. Most of these were recalled voluntarily by the production company or the publisher because of some issue with it, whether it was offensive materials, risque images, or even potential legal issues like the artist snuck something in that could have caused a problem. But these issues just didn't seem to plague this Final Faction comic book. On April 18th, I went to a Dollar Tree and I saw issues of the Final Faction comic book hanging on the shelf. I decided to try and buy them and see if this was actually true, if there was a problem in buying these comic books. I took them up to the cashier. The cashier rang them up. They came up for 1 cent. 1 cent is the alert notice of a recall for Dollar Tree. And the cashier looked at me and said, "I cannot sell these to you. They have been recalled." And she refused to sell them. Instead of causing a problem, I decided that we just would leave and say, "Okay, thank you very much." So basically, Comic Drake's video is absolutely true. It is not an April Fool's joke. These comic books are no longer being allowed to be sold at Dollar Tree. Now, looking through the comic book, you can see that there's really nothing that stands out like ComicTropes' comments of nudity or offensive material. This comic book was directed toward kids. It has some action in it. It has some attacks and some violence. So my thought was maybe some parent group got involved or some teacher group and said, "This is too violent to sell to kids. You need to get it off the shelf." And instead of having a legal battle saying right to say whatever we want or First Amendment right, they decided, let's just recall the comic book. But I have no proof of that. All I do know comes from the Final Faction Instagram page, where it says the sales of this comic book did not meet expectations, and the comic book was canceled before the second issue was released. So my theory is not quite as nefarious as teacher groups or parent groups getting upset over violence and demanding the comic book being taken off the shelf. I actually think that this book didn't meet sales expectations, and it was hanging on the shelf too long, and Dollar Tree wanted to clear up some of their valuable space. So instead of sending a statement to everybody saying, take all the books off the shelf and put them away, taking up valuable time and money and effort to do all that, they just sent out the little update through their computer systems that put a 1 cent recall notice. And so if someone does happen to buy it, it just gets taken down. And that tells the cashier to go take it off the shelf eventually. So go ahead and take a look at your Dollar Trees and see if the Final Faction comic book is still for sale. So what about in your area? Does your Dollar Tree still have the Final Faction comic book hanging on the shelf? Are you able to buy it? So has the comic book been recalled, or has it just been slightly pushed aside because it didn't sell? Anyway, it's quite obvious from the past few years, since there's been very few updates on the YouTube channel and the Instagram page, that Final Faction as a toy line is no longer being made. So the toys have been slowly selling off on the shelf, and this is the first time I've actually seen something happen with a statement of it being recalled. Maybe there is some issue, maybe there's not. Maybe there's some group that got upset about the violence being directed to kids, and the toy line was slowly pushed aside. The new toy line is some type of adventure heroes, some type of innocent little rescue team. So it's not a war type toy like this. But take a look and see what's going on in your area. Post in the comments down below, see what's happening. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.